Ian Rappaport had some speculation with the Texans after some news came down yesterday. It was a newsy Wednesday, man, when it comes to these teams getting themselves prepared for the new league year and free agency.
Yeah.
And one of the big names, there was a few wide receiver names. There was Christian Kirk. There was Tyler Lockett, who I already know. I have to like do a disclosure up front that I have biases coming in as a K-State alum. But then DK Metcalf came free, and everybody's eyes got real big as if they were in a cartoon animated by Hanna-Barbera. Like, we all got real
That's
excited.
the new girl in the school.
100%. Hey, DK
New
Metcalf.
girl in class. Where's she from? Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, let me
Screw you, Susie.
let me talk
It's
to
a
her.
new
right
girl
quick.
here.
Yeah.
And she cute. Let me see what she's talking about. Here's Ian Rappaport talking about who could possibly and who probably should be interested in trying to acquire the services of DK Metcalf, who requested a trade.
Receivers, as far as who might be interested, I would say the Chargers, who have Sanjay Lal, who's a receivers coach, would probably be interested. Texans would be one. Patriots would be another. There's several teams, many teams. The Las Vegas Raiders, who have his old coach, Pete Carroll. A lot of teams going to be interested in DK Metcalf.
Hold on. Run that
Yeah,
right.
what was that
back
second
that
one
up.
again?
You ran right past that, Ian. You going to act like we're not even here? I mean, like, I guess the Texans maybe.
More detail on that.
Well, that's a good point because it makes sense with the Chargers. He laid that out. Obviously, Patriots.
Yeah, lots of money.
Obviously, Raiders with Pete Carroll. There was no connection with the Texans.
Yeah.
Like, there's no connect the dots kind of
I
thing.
wonder if we kind of like little news like this because I feel like Nick Caserio is the guy that check in on anything.
Yes.
And might not be interested. You know how somebody walk up to you, be like, hey, are you interested? And you act like you're interested. You just kind of check it out knowing you probably ain't going to buy it.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's that GM.
I see your example, and I raised you this one. Nick Caserio is the dude who goes on, Craigslist, or I guess now Facebook Marketplace, and just sends an offer. Just like
Try to lowball people.
It's like, will you take 100 for it? It's like, dog, I'm selling a Dodge right now. What are you talking about? All right, just wanted to see.
150?
The price is $500, man. He trying to get over on somebody. So that's him checking in on
Just
something.
checking. And I'm not even saying that he's trying to get over on folks because that's more of a joke.
Nah, he trying to find a sucker, man.
He might be. And you know what? That's kind of his job, isn't it? Like, I feel like at that
Hey, I'm
point,
not mad at it.
you should be trying to find the sucker, right? See where you can hit for your lick. But I feel like he checks in, but I don't know that like he is the one in one of those places where he's absolutely diving in. Plus, one of the things that we know about the Texans is that, and this is why you have to, whenever you hear any level report, you have to consider, who does it stand to benefit to hear this, or for this to be heard, or what have you. The Texans are notoriously tight-lipped.
Yes.
They keep a lot of their information in house. This feels like you're just looking up and going, yeah, they could use a wide receiver.
Yeah. Well, I want to make two things very, very clear. You just touched on the first one. This is Ian Rappaport speculating. This isn't a report. This isn't, like I've heard this or that. Although he did connect the dots with three of the teams that he mentioned, that the one team that he didn't was the Houston Texans, which leads me to my second point. Every time somebody like this speculates on something, I always wonder, like, who is it that's speculating? If it's, some dude that is a part-time podcaster on the Texans, well, then I don't put, all due respect, I don't put as much credence into it as Ian Rappaport. Because just for him to throw out the Texans' name, you kind of have to start wondering, did he hear something? Is something that he may not be comfortable or have enough to report on, but he heard something? So that's why, as much as it's speculation, I kind of think, not that there's a lot to it, but that he's heard something about the Texans and DK Metcalf.
Well, and, Kick Rocks on the YouTube says maybe he threw the Texans in just because they were implicated in the Deebo Samuels negotiation. Obviously, he ultimately ends up with the Commanders. I almost called them the Commandos because I always want to do it. It's more fun that way.
I already called them the Commodores.
Oh, wow. See,
that's even better.
It looked like
that's
the Commodores.
even better.
I know that they play better, but I don't want to give them all that respect just yet. Y'all can get Commandos. Yeah, maybe we can get you to the Commodores at a later date.
Yeah.
No, but that's a place. And somebody rightfully asked on the text line, do we even know that Seattle is going feeling like the Seattle Seahawks said that they will try and accommodate this request. Now, in accommodating this
I know
request,
where you're going. Yeah.
you got to know what the cost actually is. We kind of made the jokes and the illusions of the idea of Nick checking in and just being like, I'll give you 10 cents on the dollar for it, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not necessarily going to get it done. And in this instance, I think that this is where it falls apart for me.
Yes.
Diana Rossini, very well connected as an NFL insider. She does her work for The Athletic these days. In fact, she has the Scoop City podcast. It's pretty good as well. And she is reporting that the cost for DK Metcalf, understanding that he has 1 year of, 1 year of time left on the current contract, and he wants a deal, a first-round pick, and a third-round pick. And then, on top of all that, he's looking for $30 million average annual value on the next deal, which I imagine he wants to do ASAPtually.
Yes, absolutely. And this is where
Nick said, all right, appreciate you, man.
Well, that's exactly right. If they can get that, first of all, I don't think they will get that. I mean, let's be, they won't get a first and a third for DK Metcalf. I just don't see it happen.
I do love, it feels like the text line and the YouTube look very much like, have you played a poker game where somebody's just wilding with their bet and everybody's just like, well, throwing in the card. It's just, I'm out. You don't want Metcalf. I'm good. Versus too much. Everybody immediately
everybody folding.
100%.
Yeah, you and I are on the same page on this because that's where I just go, you know what, if you can get that, congratulations. We're out. We're out.
Good luck going to a place like Carolina or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the Raiders.
Well, I mean, you can still come back to New England. Still makes a lot of sense.
Or New England,
They're trying to build something with the young guy. They have the cap space to be able to accommodate the kind of payment that he wants. I imagine that they want that type of talent as a roster that was devoid of such outside of maybe just looking at the fact that they had a quarterback that was pretty good. Like you just looked up there and you go, hey, maybe that works for them. He's able to get the money that he wants. He's able to, he's not going to compete necessarily early on, but he has a quarterback at least to work with.
Yeah.
I could see that working out there, but I just don't see.
But even with that first round pick, like if it's, let's say it's New England, like you send it, what were they picking, fourth? I think they picking third or fourth or whatever it is. I'm not sending that for DK Metcalf. It would have to be like a first round pick for next year.
Yeah.
And again,
maybe a third this year.
Right. And again, I feel like, Lopez, the point that you made was a good one, is that's what they're asking for. That's what the presumed ask is.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily what they will get. But if that starting point is indicative of anything, I think it's indicative that it's too high. And honestly, the payment on the draft capital is not necessarily the one that gets me out. It probably is good enough to do that.
Sure.
It's the average annual value.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that with this team, we've kind of danced around. We talked a little bit on this program, is just you have a lot of high level talent, a lot of high dollar talent on this team, even if they're not being paid that yet on the horizon. We know that in this offseason, there's the full expectation that Derek Stingley gets his high dollar value of the market.
Yeah.
Will Anderson Jr. still exists there to get his high dollar extension. Danielle Hunter, at the very worst, deserves is in line for probably a restructure, and probably, if you believe Sportskeeda that had reported that he is seeking an extension, and I mean it probably stands to make sense, a reason that is worthwhile for both parties. Is this, you see the way that Daniil's playing, I think that it's worth giving him a few more years, keeping him happy, and then keeping him around, especially knowing that D'Amico loves having a fantastic pass rush, and it seems like he would be able to do that for the next 2, 3, 4 years or what have you, right? I think that makes sense. How many other guys do we need to talk about? I know Kamara's still a little farther out. Oh, yeah, that's right, the quarterback, right? You're not far out from him getting – you cannot have everybody paid at the high level, because at that point you then ask, how much do you have to pay for the rest of the roster? And then will you have a roster that's just incredibly top-heavy, that's not able to sustain everything? I don't know that the secondary wide receiver is the place where you have to break the bank in that way.
No, but I mean, as you pointed out, if you can get him – what did Debo get, a fifth?
Yes.
And you want a first and a third? Like, they have to be you
got to ask, right?
Yeah, no, they have to be reasonable here at some point. So I don't necessarily think it blows the Texans out of the water. It's just, I think they just have to go back there and say, look, we really think he can do this, this, and this with C.J. Stroud. We'll give you a third. That's it. And then we'll take on the money or whatever. Then we can talk a little bit. But no, I just first and a third. Good luck.
Yeah, I feel like some of these bad teams. I don't want to call them bad teams. teams, but quarterbacks probably are willing to at least give a first away for it. And that's when the Texans are probably out.
Yeah.
And look, I know that Nick Caserio had sung the praise of Howie Roseman, the executive for the Eagles, this at the Combine. And I understand Cornbread on YouTube saying, well, the Eagles find a way to pay everybody. To some extent, they let guys go. And one of the things they're also doing is they're making sure to bring in more young talent, which I think is why those draft picks end up being more necessary and why you should not, especially double pay at the very least. But with that being the case, I think that we've laid it out very clearly why DK Metcalf not the one that you want. All right, so if that's not the place that you go, wide receiver wise, who is your target? Because I know someone kicked rocks on the YouTube saying that Godwin is the one for him. I don't know that you're touching Godwin. I think Godwin is going to stay
because that's money. That's going to be big time. Look, we're going to get into some value picks, especially at the wide receiver position. I still think maybe there's something out there with Christian Kirk. Obviously Lockett. Would be the two that I would look at because of the upside and certainly the ability, the proven ability in this league, and they can be a number two. You don't need a number one wide receiver. DK Metcalf would be a luxury. You would have two number one wide receivers, and you'd be awesome. But you're looking for a number two. That's where I would land. Maybe a Kirk, maybe a Lockett.
I think that Seth put something out that was really interesting. That got me really going. He tied it back to the Combine where we heard from head coach of the Texans, DeMeco Ryans. This is DeMeco Ryans talking about what he is looking for when you talk about a wide receiver in this offense.
Yeah, with the receiver position, we're looking for guys who are separators, right? Who can separate, who can find a way to get open, right? And if you have that one redeeming quality that you can separate, right, that's what we're looking for, especially that shows up on third down, right? How do you win third down? How do you stay on the field as an offense, right, and continue to produce and move the ball down the field? It's about third down, right, and being able to convert. And the way you convert is guys who are savvy enough to find a way to always get open.
So you have that. You start looking at the separators. And, of course, again, Seth did a fantastic job here laying out the people who had the best separation. I'm guessing this is per Next Gen Stats. Cooper Kupp is at the top of that, at top of the list of kind of some of those guys that are out there when it, nearest defender, yards between them and the nearest defender, what have you. Cooper Kupp is high. Godwin's also high. Devontae Adams is high. Elijah Moore is high. But then you get to Stephon Diggs, and I think that we've all kind of largely in the same place where I think a lot of people are okay with him returning.
Yeah.
With that same level of separation as Stephon Diggs had, Keenan Allen was a guy that I had not given enough consideration playing there with Chicago last year.
And that was somebody Nick Caserio tried to get, too.
Yeah, remember we had this
tried to get him before Stephon Diggs.
We had this conversation last year.
So Stephon Diggs was plan B.
And I was on Allen, 3 yards between he and the nearest defender at the catch or incompletion. I'm with you. You're in on Keenan Allen now?
I think I'm in on Keenan Allen, especially now. He missed a little time when he was playing with the Chargers.
That's value to me.
But I think that there's some value there. And when he was playing with the Chargers, still produced at a high level. Last year, that production went down, but that's in a Chicago offense that one was ran by Shane Waldron, which I don't know how excited I was about that to begin with.
Yeah.
You had a rookie quarterback, and on top of that, a rookie quarterback that was not protected. Not protected to the point where they traded for not one, but two guards at high cost in this offseason just to remedy that. I think that speaks to the ways in which that offense was not going to be optimized. And this is an offense that I imagine is going to be optimized, especially playing opposite Nico Collins. I think he still gives you all the things that you're looking for, and I think that the price might be a little depressed, especially as you look at the market as a whole. I think Keenan Allen might be a guy that I'm starting to really have a little bit of a football crush on.
How about those guys at the top of the list, just looking at them? People talk about who are the best route runners. That don't necessarily have to be the fastest, but the best routes. All 5 of those guys are generally put in that category.
But if you were a Cooper Kupp truther, there's another good reason to look at that, especially
3.3 yards.
Right. On top of the idea that there's likely to be a level of comfort with whatever Nick Caley brings. I mean, even if it's not wholesale Los Angeles Rams offense, there's going to be some similarities at the very least, maybe terminology or what have you. Like you imagine that there's going to be a easier uptick getting. I mean, that also gives you another reason to look there. But I mean, all these points though, I think it's worth circling back to remembering. I think the DK Metcalf thing is one of those things that you just open your eyes, you enjoy looking.
Yeah.
But you don't go talk to that girl. You let that girl over there do what she's doing.
Or have you been in like Sam's or something like that, and somebody tried to sell you a TV or something like that?
It's usually the phone. It's usually like, well, who do you have for your phone service?
Yeah, and then they give you that price, that high ass price,
and you're
just like, yeah, I can't do it right now.
Yeah.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
But you checked in on it, just trying to see what they was talking. Just like, nah, thanks, but no thanks.
I do wonder if that was what Joe Mixon was alluding to yesterday. Joe Mixon said, "Oh my goodness, imagine Nico and." Never mind. Just wait on it. Eyes emoji. What are you doing to us right now? Are you talking about?
I hate when players do that, man.
They do it all the time now. It's crazy.
What does that mean?
The eyes emoji drives me nuts.
Eyes emoji.
Eyes emoji drives me nuts.
Tell me what it means, Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
All right. You're in the loop right here on Sports Radio 6.